Well, with the Sea Shepherd fleet in Melbourne for the winter, we thought it'd be a good chance to come down and maybe offer a little bit of a unique tour of one of the ships. We're going to go visit the Bob Barker, and this was originally a whaling vessel itself, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's originally from Norway actually. It was used in the 1950s as a Norwegian whaling vessel, yeah.
Well, let's get on board.
Yeah, okay, let's go.
So we're on deck. I see there are skull and crossbones everywhere.
Yeah, this is normally the first stop on any kind of tour that we bring the public onto the ship for. This is the main deck, it's the boat deck, so it's where we keep our small boats. We've just got one out for servicing at the moment because they obviously go through quite a lot of action, so it's one of the main things that we have to sort the maintenance out from as soon as we get back into port.
And there's got a crow's nest up there, I see. Do people spend a lot of time up there?
We spent a hell of a lot of time up there, yeah. And I remember when I first joined the ship, it was probably the most scary place for me because I don't really like heights very much. And I remember when we were doing our climbing training for it, I just got to the top and just completely froze up because I was so scared of it. But you kind of get over that pretty quickly. The main spot that we really have for searching for the whaling fleet, a lot of the time when you're using the radar systems, you can have things that just crop up that you're not really sure whether they're an iceberg or whether it's a ship or some kind of vessel. So we have people stationed up at the top of that with a pair of binoculars, and will give an indication as to whether it is actually a ship or an iceberg.
All right, so we're heading up to the bow of the ship, obviously, and we can see the Steve Irwin here.
Yeah, we've got the Steve Irwin just ahead of us there. Within the Sea Shepherd fleet now, we've got 3 of these larger vessels. So there's the Steve Irwin, which is our flagship. We've got the Bob Barker, which is more like our long-range vessel. And the Sam Simon was the new one that we got just a couple of years ago now. And then we've got 2 smaller, sort of more specialised vessels, the Bridget Bardot and the Hiram Moira Sandoval.
Great. And this is obviously the bridge.
It is, yes. So this area of the ship would have traditionally been called a wheelhouse or a bridge. But you're probably noticing a distinct lack of a wheel up here, maybe? Is that the first thing that jumps out to you? So although the ship is quite old, we were built in 1950, we've got a lot of modern technology on board now, so we actually steer the ship with joysticks that we have, so there's 3 of them. We've got 2 quite modern radar systems now as well to help us sort of pinpoint any icebergs in the area if there's ships coming up, and sometimes you get a few of the weather patterns coming through on there. Then we've got a navigation system that works very much like a TomTom or some kind of GPS that you would have in your car usually. So you just put your waypoints on there and set your autopilot and away you go. So in here, this is what we now call the dive locker, but it would have originally been used on the ship as a gunpowder store when the vessel was used as a whaling ship. So right now we just store all of our cold weather gear, wet weather gear and stuff in here. We've got Mustang suits that are worn during any time the deck team would be out on deck, if we're launching the small boats, that kind of thing. They're pretty well insulated, so they do keep you really warm when you're out in Antarctica. Got a lot of the small boat stuff in here as well, so the suits are slightly different. They're dry suits, so we have to have like these really thick underlayers on, and then it's just like an outer shell to keep us dry when we're out on the boats. And then we keep a lot of diving gear as well.
Right, that'd be for repairs and things.
Yeah, it's not really something that we want to do when we're down in Antarctica, but we need to have the equipment on board in case there was any kind of entanglement in maybe the propeller or any hull damage. We can send divers in to just have a look and see if we can make the repairs at sea.
So this is obviously a bit of a workshop.
It is, yeah. This is the main workshop that we have on the ship. Sometimes it's called the forecastle, which is short for forecastle, but generally I just call it the workshop, and it's where we keep all of the deck tools mainly for any kind of maintenance that we need to do on the ship. Do a lot of welding and carpentry work in here.
And you mentioned before, up the side here, we have some evidence from your last campaign. What is that?
We do. During our last whale defence campaign in Antarctica, we got into a bit of a confrontation with the whaling fleet. So during that confrontation, we ended up in a collision as the Ocean Mariner number 3 crossed the bow of the ship. And I think they just sort of underestimated the angle a little bit, and the back end just swung out and hit into the bow of our vessel on the starboard side here. So you can see there's quite a bit of damage from that we need to get repaired this year.
And what do we have here?
So you can start to see the differences that we have between our work areas and our sort of living areas. This is the lounge, so it's where a lot of the crew spend a lot of the social time during time at sea. It's quite an interesting place where we bring people on tours because we can put a lot of the sort of images from previous campaigns up on the walls and play videos and things.
Sleeping quarters.
Yeah, it gets quite cramped down here.
It looks very cramped.
I know the ship probably looks quite big from the outside, but we actually have 35 crew usually on this vessel when we're at sea, so we have very, very cramped living spaces. This cabin actually has 3 people in it usually, so it can get very, very tight, and you have to learn how to get along with people you don't know so well.
Here we are. This must be one of the smaller rooms on the ship, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's where our hardest working department's found as well. This is the galley.
That's a lot of knives over there.
Yeah, it is. We have to prepare food 3 meals a day for 35 people, so it is a massive, massive undertaking. They provide 3 nutritious vegan meals a day, so we don't have any animal products on board the ship, so it's very, very hard. I don't know how they do it half the time.
And they're hard at work.
Yeah.
All right, let's carry on. And this is obviously the mess.
Yeah, so this is where we eat all of our meals on board the ship, and we're just at lunchtime now, so we've got some of the crew knocking around having Jamaican spice rice with peas today.
Right, you show up in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And this is the last spot on our tour. It's obviously the helideck.
It is, yeah. We do have a helideck on board the vessel. The helicopter that we have lives on the Steve Irwin usually. They have one of these retractable hangars to protect it from the elements. So we have the capacity here for it to land, refuel, transfer any kind of supplies, or if there's some kind of medical emergency, we can ship crew off. And I mean, it's great for us to have the helicopter and to have the 2 launch pads, because it just means that we can widen the sort of area for reconnaissance when we're looking for the whaling fleet as well.
All right, so you get a lot of use out of this deck then? It comes in very handy, yeah?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Well, great. Well, thanks very much for the tour. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank you.